Hi guys, it's Claire. Welcome back. Today I wanted to do a video talking about some of my favorite people on BookTube, and I decided to do this now because I've been on BookTube just under 6 months, and I thought it was kind of a good time to reflect on what one of the best parts of BookTube has been, and that's been discovering new channels and new people, and in some cases making really good bookish friends with other booktubers. So I wanted to talk about some of my favorite booktubers and encourage you to check them out if you haven't already. I just wanted to start with a quick shout out to some of the bigger channels that I really love that you're probably already aware of. Ashley at Climb the Stacks, Mercedes at Mercy's Bookish Musings, and Jennifer at Insert Literary Pun Here are 3 of my favorite channels, and they were people who I was watching a lot before I started BookTube, and those are channels that I really admire, and I just find them all so thoughtful and intelligent, and their channels are channels that kind of made me want to give BookTube a try too. I also love Sabrina over at Unmanaged Mischief. She's been on BookTube for a few years, and she does really wonderful book reviews and has a great archive of reviews. So I often find that when I read a book, I'll go and search for reviews on BookTube, and a lot of the time she'll have done one, so I love going back to some of her older videos and checking out those reviews, and I just think she has great taste in fiction too, so she's wonderful. And I also wanted to mention Katie at Books and Things, who is the queen of Victorian lit here on BookTube, and she's one of the first people on BookTube who ever gave me a shout out. She also invited me to participate in some Victober stuff this fall, and she just made me feel very welcome in the BookTube community very early on. And I also just fell in love with her channel because she's someone who talks enthusiastically about the things that she loves, and it's so infectious, and just I love to see that level of book gushing. So she's one of my favorites too. So I just wanted to mention those people. I'm sure you're already familiar with them, but I love those channels. On to the rest of my favorite channels. First up is Vanessa over at Split Reads, and Vanessa was really one of the first people on BookTube who I kind of felt like I formed a bookish friendship with, and she commented on one of my earlier videos about The Total Eclipse by Annie Dillard, which was a video I thought no one would be interested in, but we were both chasing the eclipse in August, and it was just really wonderful to connect with someone over a real life thing, and kind of made me realize that you can make real friendships and connections on BookTube. She's also my go-to person for nonfiction reads. She reads a ton of nonfiction and current nonfiction, and every time one of her videos pops up, it's an instant click for me because she's so thoughtful but also laid back and just really nice to watch. Then I have Matthew Sharapa, who's another person I've become friends with on BookTube since starting, and I first discovered him through his wonderful Women in Translation series that he did this summer, and I got so many great recommendations from him, and he continues to influence my reading, and I feel like I've been reading a lot more translated fiction because of him. And he also does a really wonderful Bring Your Own Recommendations series, and also does a Matthew Reads series where he vlogs while listening to an audiobook. And he just has a sort of effervescent personality and is really wonderful and fun. Then there's Katherine from Literary Prince, whose channel I love. She reads a lot of Japanese fiction and also just has really wonderful taste in literary fiction and classics. I feel like she kind of reads books that you don't always see on BookTube, which is always refreshing. And she has really wonderful editing too that's really fun to watch. And her personality is just like a ray of sunshine. And we recently just did a buddy read together, which was really, really fun, and I'm looking forward to doing more with her in the future. Then I have Pip Reid, who also has really great editing and artistic skills. She often incorporates a lot of these like animated cutouts into her videos, which I'm so impressed by, and I'm sure it takes so much time, but her videos are so fun to watch, not just because of her wonderful personality, but because she puts so much work into it, and they're very visually interesting. And she's just an incredibly kind and enthusiastic presence on BookTube too. Then I have Alex from Big Al Books, and she is one of my favorite people to watch. She's another person who I think has great taste in literary fiction and classics that again aren't the same old books that you see on BookTube all the time. She really just does her own thing and reads what she wants to. She also has an awesome sense of humor that's really just, I don't even know how to describe it, but I feel like I really appreciate it. She's just great. I love her personality, and I think she's a very like unique presence on BookTube. And she's also done some really fantastic videos talking about books about or written by First Nations people, particularly First Nations people in Canada, but also in America as well. And those are really wonderful videos that you should definitely check out. Then there's Sean, the Book Maniac, who is a Canadian living in Tokyo. Sean is hilarious and not afraid to DNF books, and I love his brutal honesty. It's so refreshing on BookTube to hear someone just like rip into a book, but it's also wonderful to hear him talk about books that he does love, because he's so brutally honest that you know that when he loves a book, he really loves it and it's something worth checking out. But I do recommend that you check out his videos about books that he's bailed on or DNF'd, because those are really fun to watch too. Then there's Heidi from My Reading Life, who is another one of my go-to people for nonfiction. She also reads a lot of wonderful fiction, but I just really love her taste in nonfiction in particular, and she talks about it in a really accessible and laid-back way. Then there's Chris from Bookish Cauldron, and he reads a really nice mix of fiction and fantasy, and I just love to hear him talk about books, even if he's ranting or raving about a fantasy book or series that I have no intention of reading. I just love to hear him talk about books. Then I wanted to mention Alex from What Page Are You On? He's a fairly new booktuber, but he has really wonderful and thoughtful insights, and I believe he's in graduate school right now, so he brings a slightly more critical and academic lens to the books that he's talking about, and he also just reads a lot of the stuff that I'm interested in, so he's great. Then there's Amanda Jenner, who I just love. Do you know when you find a channel where you just love to listen to someone talk about books, and she talks about them in a relaxed but really honest and insightful way, and you just kind of feel like you're out to coffee or tea with one of your friends and just want to listen to them go on, and I just love her channel because of that, and she's really just sweet and wonderful and one of my favorites. Then there's Sarai from Sarai Talks Books, and she's another person where it just feels like you're listening to a friend talk about books. I love her kind of quick Friday reads videos. She just read Anne of Green Gables, and that kind of inspired me to pick up that book, which I just finished and really loved, so Sarai is wonderful. Definitely check her out too. Then there's Bri from Bri Hill, who I feel like maybe a lot of you are familiar with already. Bri is wonderful and reads a great variety of books, and also she's just so enthusiastic about books on BookTube and on Twitter. I think she has great social media presence and is really great at highlighting people's videos or channels on Twitter, and I find a lot of new people and videos because of that, so she's really great. Then there's Doris from All D Books, who just has a really relaxed and chill approach to BookTube. She just turns on her camera and talks for 10 or 15 minutes, and I always feel more chilled out after watching her, and she has great reading taste too. Then I have Kendra Winchester, who is wonderful and reads so many books. I'm so impressed by how many books she has in her wrap-ups every month. It's really insane. And she's really into new releases and is great at highlighting new and upcoming books, and she's also a champion for audiobooks, which is fantastic, and she runs the Reading Women podcast, which is really wonderful and highlights female authors, and you should definitely check that out and subscribe to it if you're not already. Then I have Victoria from Eves Alexandria, and she is so smart and talks about books in such a thoughtful way, and I just love kind of the cadence of her voice too. I don't want to like be creepy by saying that, but I love to listen to her talk about books and could literally do it all day long, and she reads a nice mix of books too. And lastly, I would like to shout out Tortoise Dreams, who doesn't have a BookTube channel, but they're one of my favorite commenters. I think they comment on almost every video, which is so nice, and they leave such thoughtful comments that help me think more critically about what I'm reading, and they also have recommended books that I've picked up and really loved, and I just am so thankful for them because they've been a highlight of my BookTube experience so far. And they do have a blog called Tortoise Dreams, which I'll link down below, and I also recommend that you check out their Goodreads reviews because those are fantastic and so well thought out too. So shout out to you, Tortoise Dreams. I'm not trying to make you blush, but you're great. And that's also to say that everyone who watches and comments and likes is wonderful and really makes the whole experience worthwhile. And I've definitely taken a lot of book recommendations based on comments people have left, so please don't hesitate to recommend stuff or talk about what you're reading because I love to hear about it. And just thanks so much for watching and for making BookTube a wonderful experience so far. You're all wonderful, and definitely check out some of the people I mentioned in this video, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye!